This is the story of a simple engine that reshaped American culture in ways no one could have predicted. The Ford Flathead V8. An engine that was never meant to be revolutionary, yet went on to change how Americans thought about speed, freedom, and mechanical power. It was affordable, approachable, and built during one of the darkest economic periods in history. And somehow it humbled elite engineering, empowered ordinary people, and created hot rod culture from nothing. To understand how that happened, we first need to look at the world before the Flathead existed. In the early 1930s, the automotive world was deeply divided. Power belonged to the wealthy. If you wanted a fast or smooth car, you needed cylinders. Lots of them. Cadillac, Packard, and Lincoln were producing V12 and even V16 engines. These machines were quiet, powerful, and beautifully engineered. They were also absurdly expensive. These were not cars for workers. They were rolling symbols of privilege. At the same time, America was collapsing economically. The Great Depression had taken hold. Banks were failing. Jobs were disappearing. Entire families were surviving on scraps. For most Americans, owning any car at all was a struggle. A luxury V12 might as well have been a private jet. Regular people drove four-cylinder cars, maybe a straight six if they were lucky. These engines were reliable and economical, but they were dull. Cars were transportation, nothing more. Henry Ford understood this reality better than anyone. He had already changed the world once with the Model T. But by the early 30s, Ford was losing ground. General Motors was offering more variety, more style, and more excitement. The Model A was acceptable, but acceptable was not enough. Ford needed something bold, something no one else had dared to offer. What Ford wanted sounded impossible. He wanted to give ordinary Americans a V8 engine. Not a luxury engine, not a racing engine. A mass-produced V8 that a factory worker could afford. Engineers immediately pushed back. V8 engines existed, but they were expensive to build. They required complex castings, multiple blocks, and precise assembly. Every attempt at a low-cost V8 had failed. Ford refused to accept that answer. He believed the problem was not the idea, but the execution. He demanded a single-piece engine block, one casting. If that could be done, the cost would drop dramatically. The challenge was enormous. Casting a V8 block as one piece required perfect control of molten metal. Any inconsistency would cause cracks or warping. Entire engines would be ruined. Ford invested heavily. New foundries were built. Metallurgists were hired. Alloys were tested and discarded. Failures piled up. Engines cracked, blocks warped. Production targets were missed, but eventually, through relentless experimentation, the impossible happened. Ford engineers figured out how to cast a V8 engine block in one piece. In March of 1932, Ford revealed the Flathead V8. It produced 65 horsepower. That may not sound impressive today, but compared to the 40 horsepower four-cylinder it replaced, it was a revelation. Even more shocking was the price. The V8 version cost only $50 more than the base model. For the first time, real power was accessible to regular people. The automotive industry was stunned. Luxury brands charged thousands for similar performance. Ford delivered it for pocket change. The Flathead was not refined. It was not elegant, but it worked, and it was affordable. That combination proved unstoppable. The engine earned its name from its design. Instead of placing valves in the cylinder head, Ford placed them beside the cylinders in the block. This created a flat cylinder head and simplified manufacturing. Engineers considered it outdated, but simplicity had advantages. Fewer parts meant easier maintenance. Easier maintenance meant people could work on it themselves. That unintended feature changed everything. The Flathead was understandable. A person could look at it and grasp how it worked, and that meant it could be modified. Regular people could experiment, improve it, and make it faster without factory support. The first to exploit this were not hot rodders, but bootleggers. During Prohibition, fast cars meant survival. Bootleggers needed to outrun the law. Flathead-powered Fords became perfect getaway vehicles. Cylinders were bored. Carburetors multiplied. Exhausts were modified. Police driving stock cars could not keep up. When Prohibition ended, that knowledge migrated west. In California, young men gathered on dry lake beds and raced their machines across open desert. These were not rich races. They were working-class teenagers with limited money and endless curiosity. Flatheads were cheap, plentiful, and eager to make more power. A culture was born. Cars were stripped of weight. Bodies were chopped and lowered. Engines were tuned relentlessly. Speed became an obsession, and the Flathead V8 was at the center of it all. This movement was democratic. You did not need wealth. You needed ingenuity. A teenager with a job and a garage could build something genuinely fast. That accessibility defined hot rodding. The Flathead had potential far beyond its factory output. With simple upgrades, power could be doubled. Racers pushed limits, drag strips formed. The National Hot Rod Association organized competition. Flatheads dominated early drag racing. Ford never intended this. The company did not support racing. Henry Ford himself disliked it. Yet his engine became the foundation of American motorsport, precisely because it was cheap and reliable. The design had flaws, heat buildup, limited breathing, but each weakness became a challenge to overcome. Innovation followed necessity. Production ended in 1953. Overhead valve engines replaced it. The small block Chevrolet took over. But the Flathead never disappeared. It became symbolic. It represented a time when people understood their machines, when power was personal, when creativity mattered more than money. Its influence spread into music, youth culture, and identity. The muscle car era followed the same philosophy: affordable power for ordinary people. Even today, the American obsession with horsepower traces back to the Flathead. It proved that access creates culture. The Flathead V8 succeeded not by being perfect, but by being reachable. Ford gave people power, and those people built something extraordinary with it. That is the legacy of the Ford Flathead V8. This philosophy influenced generations of builders. Even modern custom cars borrow from Flathead aesthetics. Visible mechanics, honest materials, celebrating how things work rather than hiding them behind plastic covers. In many ways, the Flathead era represents a lost balance: performance without excess, engineering without arrogance, power without separation between creator and user. It was not about winning races alone. It was about understanding, improving, and expressing individuality through machinery. That mindset is why the Flathead V8 still matters today.